delighted to welcome you to our first Common Hour of the 2014-15 academic year, featuring our new Provost and Dean of the Faculty, Joel Martin. Common Hour is a signature aspect of the F&M experience, a cherished time and place when our community comes together for shared reflection and discovery. New students, a great deal of work goes into providing this environment, ensuring on a weekly basis that we can nourish both your minds and your bodies at this time. We set it aside as a community to be together to discuss great ideas. We hope that you will come each Thursday to enjoy the conversation and come right to the mic and ask questions. Now, I'm very grateful to our Common Hour committee, which includes students, faculty, and professional staff, and of course to our chair, Virginia Maxinowitz. Thank you all so much for all you do to make this possible for our community. Virginia, thank you especially for what you do. It is a labor of love, and it takes time. And students, again, the faculty made the decision to have a Common Hour and to support it, which required us then to do our calendaring in different ways and not to hold classes on Thursdays or Tuesdays at this time. It's a college-wide commitment. We very much want to welcome you to be here for these talks. Now, Dr. Martin joined our community just 2 months ago in this incarnation, and I'll say more about that in a moment, as our new Provost and Dean of the Faculty. He succeeded last year's interim Provost, Joe Karleski, and before that, Ann Steiner, who served with distinction in this role from 2006 until 2013, and is now back from a year of research in Greece and serving as Donna Bonchek College House. Can I ask you please to thank Ann and Joe for their leadership in this role? And I also would like you to recognize with me our Provost Search Committee, chaired by Professor of French and Chair of International Studies, Lisa Gasparone. This committee worked tirelessly and with the commitment to confidentiality of the CIA as we recruited from a national pool of outstanding academic leaders. And with professionalism, with integrity, and with a deep commitment to Franklin and Marshall College, that search committee did brilliant work. Thank you to all of you who are here today, and Lisa for your leadership. Now, Dr. Martin, many of you know, but not all know, is not in fact new to Franklin and Marshall College. He's one of the country's leading scholars of Native American history, culture, and spirituality. He joined our community as a professor of religious studies in 1988, right out of graduate school, freshly minted with his PhD in honors, which came in the history of religious studies from Duke University. Joel went on here to serve as chair of the Religious Studies Department, and before departing F&M in 2000 to become the Costo Endowed Chair in American Indian Affairs and Professor of History and Religious Studies at the University of California, Riverside. And this endowed chair has a monumental moral stature, because it was, we think, the first chair of Native American studies to be funded by Native Americans themselves. And the history of the Native American experience in this country is not one, of course, defined by reciprocity and by trust, and to have a community invest in the creation of a role of a scholar to then bring forward learning about the Native American community, somebody who not in fact Native American. It's a remarkable gesture of faith and investment and belief in the academic process. And Joel, what an honor to be the one chosen for that. Joel later served as chair of the Department of Religious Studies at UC Riverside from 2002 to 2004, and as interim dean of the College of Humanities, Arts, and Sciences from 2004 to 2006, when he then was appointed dean of the College of Humanities and Fine Arts at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, on the other side of the country. And he was named a distinguished university professor in 2007, in that role when he also became vice provost for academic personnel and dean of the faculty. And that was in 2010. And he had oversight of an enormously complex academic mission and set of departments and faculty. More than 1,000 faculty were involved in the work that he did. He also led and oversaw and cultivated that university's Center for Teaching Initiatives and all aspects of faculty development. He's a summa cum laude graduate of Birmingham Southern College. He holds a master's in theological studies from Harvard University. He's received a number of prestigious fellowships from the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Center for the Study of Religion and American Culture at Princeton University, the U.S. Department of Education, Duke University, Rotary International. He's the author and editor of 4 books, including Sacred Revolt, The Muskegee Struggle in the New World, which was named the Outstanding Book of 1991 on the subject of human rights by the Gustav Meyer Center for the Study of Human Rights. He's contributed dozens of book chapters and journal articles and essays throughout an eminent career as one of the leading scholars in his field. The field itself has changed dramatically because of his contributions and during the time of his intellectual leadership. Well, during the recruitment process, I had the opportunity to spend many hours in late-night phone calls, as well as several in-person meetings on campus, in a hotel dining room, and then many calls at night to get to know Joel as an educator and to share conversation about what we're doing here, and for me to be able to assess, with the search committee's strong endorsement, was the fit right for F&M. We talked about his experiences cultivating faculty development. We talked about his work partnering with the president of other institutions, the faculty, and the advancement department in order to generate investment in the academic mission of other institutions. We talked about formative life experiences, the role of his parents in cultivating his sense of opportunity, his hopes for the future. We talked about his partner Jan and her great success as a transformational middle school science teacher in an underserved community. We talked about the liberal arts education that he earned and what that liberal arts education did to catalyze the remarkable career students that I've just described. We talked about growing up in the South and his lived experience of confronting racism, institutional and personal, and his commitment to opportunity and to social justice. We even bonded. This is a little bit nerdy, I realize. We bonded over our shared admiration for the historian John Hope Franklin. And I was particularly struck when I reflected about Joel's research in Native American culture, spirituality, and history. The intersections of that work, so many of them so deeply painful in American history. A necessary part of his scholarship has involved meeting firsthand the communities that he seeks to study and to respect and to empower with his scholarship. Really listening. Not taking knowledge from his subjects, but responding to their dignity in order to partner with them with unwavering respect and care in the articulation of their story. There are many examples in the Western intellectual tradition of academic colonizing, when people like us study other communities more for what it does for us than what it does for them. And Joel's work and career and sensibility and ethics and integrity stand in contradiction to that other approach. It shows the way, students, for what it means to do research with a deeply formed ethical sensibility. And so for all those reasons, it's an unbelievable pleasure to work together, Joel, to invite you to the mic, and to thank you for being back at Franklin and Marshall College.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, President Porterfield, for that most gracious and extremely kind introduction. I feel like I'm going to have to live up to this wonderful person you described now. That's quite a challenge. I'll do my best. Good morning, everyone. This is how I spent my summer. Moving boxes, lots of boxes. I moved hundreds of boxes containing my stuff, along with all my furniture, electronics, plants, and thousands of books from a great home in a lively community, Amherst, Massachusetts, to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to join the campus as its new provost and dean of the faculty. And though most of the boxes and most of my stuff made the trip in one day on a great big truck, and there were several strong men paid on both sides of the trip, doing the lion's share of the work, the move was still hard. Any significant move means wresting oneself out of established routines, away from well-trod paths, from cherished intimacies and friendships, and from the future that one had projected in the old home. Who in this audience moved here this year? Please raise your hand. Okay. I feel your pain, at least some of it. And with many of you, I share some of your anxiety and worry, as well as your excitement and exuberance. And I share many of your fundamental initial questions about what we have gotten ourselves into by moving to Lancaster. You and I are asking many of the same questions. Will I like my new house and home? Am I ready for this big step? Will I find good places to eat and drink? Can I master all of the new rules that come with being part of this community? And will all the other people here that I have to play with obey the rules and practice good etiquette and hygiene? Will I be anxious or happy? Will I be alone or make friends? Or will I enjoy my solitude and make friends? Will I make friends with people unlike me from different backgrounds? Will I play sports? I'm not sure what sport this is. It seems to involve just running around in circles aimlessly. It's all cricket to me. Will I just work all the time retrieving one down ball after another? Or will I acquire good work-life balance? I don't recommend you follow the example of these guys. They just hang out all the time, getting by on their good looks and affable personalities. And for the students and me, there's another shared common question. Will we get along with the faculty? These are just some of the questions we're asking, some of the challenges we're facing as newcomers to the campus. So that raises the even bigger question, why did we move? It wasn't the dog park in Buchanan Park that made us move here, as nice as that is. For all of us, the reason why we moved, the answer is the same. The answer is F&M, which immediately leads to the next question, the question I offered Virginia as the title of my talk. Why F&M? This is my question today for all of us, those of us who are new, but also for those of us who are not new. Why did we all choose F&M? Why do you continue to choose F&M? Later, when I stop talking and we open up the floor for questions, I would like to ask each of you, before you ask your question or make a comment, that you first articulate why you chose and choose F&M. We'll practice reciprocity here today. I'm still formulating my answer, and hearing yours will help me refine and revise and improve mine. My thoughts are very plastic. I want to highlight a few themes, but they're really open to revision and dialogue with you and the rest of the community. Here's my first draft, a work in progress from a new arrival, one who has sojourned in strange lands at other admirable institutions, including an earlier incarnation of Franklin and Marshall College. In a nutshell, the scale of Franklin and Marshall seems perfect to me. Not too large, not too small. The scale matters. It enables, among other things, a whole range of wonderful possibilities for collaborations among students, faculty, staff, and administrators. Foremost among these connections the scale supports are those between faculty and students. Those connections are the heart and soul of this institution, the reason it was founded, the reason it has thrived, and the reason it matters and will continue to matter going forward. Students here can connect directly with faculty, scholars, artists, and researchers, and participate in the creation of new knowledge, art, and science. Here, as President Porterfield says, students can't hide. They can't hide from him, Dr. P, from their dons and deans in the houses, and they can't hide from the faculty either. Here, students are known by their faculty. That is a great thing for students, and here's a secret. It's a great thing for faculty. Faculty, just between you and me, are funny people. They are unusual people. Some say they are odd people. They are eccentric people. I'm among them. Mainly because they think that what they teach is the most important thing in the entire world, and they cannot stop themselves from sharing that enthusiasm. They love their subject matter, and they really want to share it with earnest, eager students from diverse backgrounds. That's important. Let me restate this in a different way to help our students understand just how special our faculty are. Our faculty are exceptional knowledge creators and experts who have studied their subject matter for decades. They are field shapers, not field followers. But that is not all they are. Being learned and gaining the renown of one's disciplinary peers is a necessary attribute of someone who aspires to be a faculty member here, but it is not a sufficient attribute. It will not win you a position here in the national competition that every faculty search here invites. To be a faculty member here, to win one of the coveted positions here, one must also be uniquely committed to the education of young people of diverse backgrounds. That is a very high bar to meet. How lucky are our students that they can work closely with such an elite, committed faculty. That's a virtue enabled by the scale of this institution. So students, visit your faculty in office hours and get to know them. They really do want you to succeed, and they will be very generous with their support if you just make that effort. The scale of F&M also allows faculty to know other faculty in ways that are more difficult to achieve at other larger scale institutions. A hallmark of Franklin and Marshall is the degree to which faculty here collaborate across disciplines. In my first month here, I've heard from numerous faculty how rich their intellectual life is here, how appreciative faculty are of the chance to get to know scholars, artists, and researchers from other disciplines. Such interactions can and do occur on a larger campus, but it takes a great deal more energy to produce, and those interactions tend to be more episodic or accidental or ephemeral. Here, it's a daily part of life as faculty meet on committees, share buildings, collaborate in the houses, or otherwise get together. Here, no faculty member and no department is an island. Rather, faculty here are all true colleagues interacting on a daily basis, and as a result, much more aware of and challenged by other ways of knowing, measuring, thinking, creating, and debating. This creates a very fertile environment for our faculty and for our students. The way that this impacts our students most palpably and universally is through the curriculum. I think of the curriculum as a house. As I've been unpacking those many boxes, hanging clothes in the closets, putting bicycles in the garage, books on the shelves, china in the cabinet, setting up furniture and hanging art, I've had to make many choices. But I've been thinking a lot about how many choices we've had to make. Hundreds and hundreds. Where does this go? What will look good here? What will look good there? Where's the oil to oil the chain on the bicycle? But as we moved in and lived in the house, I've also become aware that the house itself helps answer these questions and steers many of these choices. There is a structure there that predates us. It is a grand home with a certain number of rooms connected by passageways and staircases with windows here and there, a structure of definitive shape and design that predated our arrival and conditions our choices. On the first floor, there's a kitchen, a dining room, a half bath, a foyer, a sun porch, but there are no bedrooms and showers. So we have to work within that structure. It makes no sense to put the bath towels and bed linens on the first floor. And it's clear in the living room where the sofa needs to go. It's clear where the dining table needs to go. We still have many choices to make, but we are not radically free to do whatever we want, or we will be at odds with the house design itself. So it is with the curriculum, the structuring of knowledge and learning that has been designed and built by the faculty, our distinguished scholars and architects. The curriculum the Franklin and Marshall faculty have designed is called Connections, and it is the class of 2018 that will first reap the benefits of living and working within this refurbished, new, fine intellectual structure. In the words of the faculty, the Connections curriculum combines a spirit of innovation with a strong sense of tradition, and provides a framework for our students' intellectual development over their 4 years at Franklin and Marshall College. The Connections curriculum encourages students to become responsible, creative, ambitious participants in learning discourse and discovery by making connections. Connections across disciplines, connections between theory and practice, and connections between their liberal arts education and the world. The Connections curriculum guides all of our students to become liberally educated people, regardless of the particular individual choices they make about a particular course or even a major. Within this house, this curriculum, students can make a lot of choices, and yes, you may change majors, but you can't avoid getting a great education, a holistic and complete education, because our wise architects have seen to that. Your education is not just about the major, not at all. The major is just part of a larger structure, very well-designed structure, very carefully staged foundation, first floor, second floor structure. The major is one room in that house. It has all the essential rooms, staircases, and passageways that define a superb intellectual home. The curriculum, its design, and its delivery is one of the primary ways, if not the primary way, that the faculty guarantees that the college fulfills its core mission. And this brings me to another great strength of Franklin and Marshall College, and I do think it's related to its scale. The mission here is clear and coherent. It's been well articulated. It's worth quoting. Franklin and Marshall College is a residential college dedicated to excellence in undergraduate liberal education. Its aims are to inspire in young people of high promise and diverse backgrounds a genuine and enduring love for learning, to teach them to read, write, and think critically, to instill in them the capacity for both independent and collaborative action, and to educate them to explore and understand the natural, social, and cultural worlds in which they live. In so doing, the college seeks to foster in its students qualities of intellect, creativity, and character, that they may live fulfilling lives and contribute meaningfully to their occupations, their communities, and their world. I think that is a wonderful mission, and I'm proud to join the college, the iconic college founded by Benjamin Franklin, that embodies it. What you may not realize is that many colleges and universities do not have a singular mission like that, or the ability to articulate it as well. Universities have complicated, multifaceted, sometimes even contradictory missions that they can never quite reconcile. Indeed, a leading theorist of higher education said we should not call universities universities, we should call them multi-universities. They are not uni, and they are not unified. At such institutions, it's really hard to gain consensus or even clear direction about what the institution should invest in and what new initiatives should be supported. We do not have that problem here. We are not at cross purposes here, prone to lurch toward one thing or another depending on the weather. We steadfastly pursue the shared goal of advancing our student-focused, clear, coherent mission, and that is the strength of this college. This focus and our scale, I would also argue, enables us to be remarkably innovative. Look at the record of the last 10 years. In the last decade, Franklin and Marshall has moved forward to build, in bold ways, progress toward the college's mission. I mentioned the new Connections curriculum designed by the faculty. That's one of the most recent innovations, but I should also mention the college house system, now 10 years old and becoming stronger every day. In these houses, students practice self-governance and develop strong intellectual communities of learning and support. Of more recent vintage, but also important to note, are the transformations in the student body itself, which is becoming more diverse and more talented in a rich range of ways. President Porterfield and the faculty are putting Franklin and Marshall on the map for boldly going where other liberal arts colleges have not yet so successfully gone, to bring the gold standard of education that is embodied in a liberal arts college to young people of great talent, regardless of their backgrounds and circumstances. These and other admirable initiatives and innovations impress me and make me wonder what's next. Finally, the scale of this institution and the consensus we share about its mission provide ideal conditions for robust shared governance. Something larger, more diffused, multi-mission institutions have difficulty practicing in productive and inclusive ways. Much larger institutions are wonderful. I've worked for them. I'm not saying anything disrespectful toward them, but they have to become somewhat, or pretty much, bureaucratic because they're so large and multifaceted. We are different, and we have other possibilities because of our scale, and I should hasten to add the good traditions of shared governance it has empowered. Just as the curriculum structures learning for our students, just as our coherent and clear mission guides all the key choices that all campus leaders make and keep us focused on the well-being of our students, so the scale of Franklin and Marshall College fosters rich face-to-face conversation, shared governance, expansive consultation, inclusive deliberation, and collective decision-making. Here are students involved in house government and campus government, faculty as a whole and faculty serving on important elected and appointed committees, chairs coordinating curriculum and other important matters, administrators charged with ensuring the well-being of the entire college, and trustees who are the college's overseers, all have the opportunity to know each other closely and to work together to tackle the challenges we face, to seize the opportunities that our times and conditions present, to ensure that the college thrives in times of weal and woe, to quote the alma mater. My ideas on this, again, are quite plastic. I'm going to be opening up the floor momentarily to ask you to tell the answer to that question that I started with. I just want to say again that witnessing these positive changes of the last decade, while recognizing the abiding strengths that have always been here and seeing great possibilities ahead, that's what drew me to Franklin and Marshall. To me, the college is not just a renowned institution of higher learning, but a college thriving at the right scale in pursuit of the right mission, attracting great and diverse students and benefiting from the deep involvement and leadership of great committed faculty and a most enlightened president and administrative team, all committed to deep consultation and face-to-face dialogue. With everyone working together, the college has done the right things to advance liberal arts education and will do great things going forward. I'm very confident of that. So yes, it was hard to move. Did I mention that that involved hundreds of boxes? And it involved emotional work of having to leave a beloved home and community. It was hard, yes, but I'm glad today that I made the move. With all the rest of you, I have also chosen F&M, in my case again, and I'm thrilled to be accompanying you on this exciting adventure as we pursue further progress on that great mission that is the college. If I had a tail, I'd be wagging it. In any case, I'll stop talking. Suffice it to say, I look forward to working with you on behalf of the college and its mission. Thank you very much. So I am from Alabama, but it's hot. Okay, I've been in Massachusetts. Now it's your turn. Why F&M? Who's first? I understand a student is always first. Or a professor of mathematics.
I'll just pretend I'm young at heart. I'm Annalisa Cornell. I'm a professor in the math department. I chose F&M because of the many different places that invited me for interviews. Franklin and Marshall was a place where actually everybody said the same thing, which gets to your theory of scale, right? Everybody said the same things mattered for tenure, and everybody said the same thing about how much it costs to live around here. I have a different kind of question for you. I love your optimism because I'm a very optimistic person, but what are the challenges that you think face Franklin and Marshall, not higher education generally, but our college in particular?
I'm still learning those on a daily basis. So I started with the strength that we have that we're all going to rely upon. You know, I did use this quote from the alma mater of times in weal and woe, and I can't help but say that, you know, in higher education in general, it's times of woe. The last 10 years, you know, I've been a dean or administrator. I went to California, and the dot-com bubble burst. And then I moved to Massachusetts, and we had a great recession. And so those are very challenging environments to be working in. And I think it's exciting to have challenges, and we were able to get through all of those successfully, working together in a real transparent way, making tough choices. So if we're going to face times of weal or woe, I think we're going to do what Benjamin Franklin did or said. We're going to thrive together or we're not. So what I'm really hoping we can do is work together to achieve the greatest possible potential, regardless of the challenges. That's a very general, non-specific question. Obviously, we're going to learn more coming up in a week or so when my good colleague Daniel Lugo shares his admissions report, which talks about the great work that his team is doing, that the faculty are doing to bring these wonderful students here, to keep them here, to have them be successful. But that's a fundamental challenge. I mean, it really is, and it's something that, again, he's got a wonderful presentation that he'll share, but those challenges are really real, the changing demographics in this country, the growing inequality economically is so universal in this country. Competition, you know. So we shouldn't be scared of competition. We have to be responsive. So there are some really serious challenges out there that we're right in the middle of. And again, I think that this campus has positioned itself very well by anticipating some of these challenges, anticipating that growing inequality would make it more difficult for some very talented youth to come here. And we've been addressing that proactively ahead of the curve. And that's something that's really significant and important. I don't want to steal my colleague's thunder. I do encourage the faculty to participate in that symposium and be there and help generate that dialogue about how we'll face some of those challenges successfully. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Philip. I'm a senior. And I guess I should answer the first question, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I chose F&M. Like, when I visited, I didn't particularly know a lot about the school, but the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the community feel. Like, everybody here was surprisingly very friendly towards me, and I felt very accepted, so that was a big reason for me to come here. My question, I guess it's a little vague, but I just kind of wanted to know your opinion on F&M's place in the Lancaster community and like what we offer, or maybe like if you have ideas about like what we can offer to improve our standing in the community and improve Lancaster as a whole.
Oh, thank you so much for your answer. Also, I've also felt everybody to be very friendly. Jan and I have been commenting on it. Everybody's very friendly, and I mean, we love Massachusetts, but everybody's really friendly here. We really like that, and let's keep that going. I've also, you know, President Porterfield mentioned that I'd been away, a prodigal provost, wandering out there in Riverside and Massachusetts. And so in the interim, not only has this campus become this really great dynamo with a lot of real great promise still to come, but the town has gotten really energized. I don't know if they've started drinking a lot more coffee or what, but you know, there are a lot more coffee shops. There are a lot more artists, and that's really exciting to see. So in answer to your question, I think there obviously all the important work that we're doing here, that we're very aware of the inequality in the country, and there's inequality in Lancaster. We're very committed to health and wellness, and obviously that's something we can share with the community, and the community shares that. But I do think there's something in the arts that's really, really important for us to be thinking about how we can partner better, since that's a real strength of Lancaster and it's a strength of our college. And so I look forward to working with our arts faculty in particular and the community on that, not to the exclusion of anything else. But I just see that as an initial first impression. This first Friday is phenomenal. I was here in the winter, and I was stayed in a hotel downtown, and I went outside and nobody had told me what was going on. I thought it was Mardi Gras. I mean, it was just, the towns were just thronged. It was 11 p.m. And those of us who were here years ago, I mean, they used to roll up the sidewalks early at night here. And so something has happened. So it's really exciting to see. So I think this is a great, you know, mutually reinforcing dynamic we have here. That the town is great for our college to recruit great students and faculty, and our students are great for the town, all that energy, all those wonderful ideas. So I would hope we can really grow together very well. Who's next? Who's got a good answer for why F&M?
I was actually going to also ask that same question about community, but I guess to answer your first question, my name is Fatu. I'm a junior from Brooks College House, and I chose F&M because my first interview through the policy process, the people that I met really showed me that this is the place that where you come now to just get your education, but people that will be caring for your personal and your professional development. So that's why I chose here. And like my question kind of goes off to the last question about community engagement, because I believe that there are great organizations on campus, like the War Institute, for example, that encourage students to, I guess, go out in the community and be engaged because there are a lot of stuff going on in Lancaster. And I guess as a new faculty, I was just wondering how you be willing to strengthen those, I guess, organizations that already exist here in helping us as students to be more engaged with our community. So how are you, I guess, planning on strengthening organizations like the War Institute or other clubs on campus that are already engaged in our community here?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering the question about why F&M. I think my primary way of supporting this will be supporting faculty who are invested in that research, particularly, and community-based research is something that I'm familiar with in evaluating at UMass Amherst. There are a lot of really great faculty in different disciplines there who their mode of research relied upon building strong networks in the community. And so I became sensitive to evaluating that appropriately in the tenure process and learning how to validate that in the tenure process. And so I'm most open to us recruiting faculty who have such commitments and have that research as an agenda that would be appropriate for an academic department here, supportive of students, and building strong relationships with the town. So I just want to make that really clear that I value that form of research, and as President Porterfield mentioned, although I wasn't trained in that mode of research, I did practice it in California working with Native nations. So it's something that I also have experience with and value very highly. Built very positive research partnerships in California that were important for the community itself, their priorities. Just to elaborate on that just one bit, since he made me nostalgic, was that, you know, they were concerned about language revitalization. So we built a partnership on that, where they were concerned about protecting their sacred sites, so we worked with our archaeological program to train site monitors. They were concerned about defending sovereignty, so we did a major $500,000 public policy study of the impact of tribal government gaming on health indicators throughout California. So that's the kind of research partnerships I'm familiar with doing in my own work with other faculty, and certainly I'm very open to. We already have exemplary programs in, I think, in water issues and stream management and pollution. I know we have other programs. Dan Arcadia talked about the biology of the rail yard. You know, so there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm still learning. I just want to indicate, officially, I'm very open and supportive of community-based research.
My name is Annie. I'm a senior, and I chose F&M because I fell in love with it. Small school, I really wanted that type of environment where I got to know my teachers. And so now that I'm a senior, I'm thinking a lot about jobs and how on my resume, how my college and my experience there is going to strike a potential employer. And one thing I find is that the liberal arts thing either hits them totally the right way, they love it, but a lot of people think, why not a big school where you have more course options, or you are more focused, you didn't do as many like core curricular things you did specifically in your area. So my question is kind of, do you think our society is valuing more or less the liberal arts, small school type of education? Do you think that's a changing phenomenon at all? And yeah, how do you think one should present to employers your education? Because I think you want to be marketable to the most people? And how do you think that a liberal arts education is, how do you think someone looks at that on your resume, and what do they think about it? And that's
Thank you. No, thank you for answering the question. That's a very important question, and there are a lot of thought leaders on campus, I would dare say every faculty member and administrators asking that question and trying to come up with a good answer. And they're smarter than I am, so I'm going to listen very closely to them. I think that the proof will be in the, that mission statement that I mentioned. I think that the outcome of this education is to make you a liberally educated person who has incredible internal strengths and skills, and that will show up in the workplace. In other words, I believe in you because you have been in this environment, in that house, that curriculum with these faculty, and you got in and you thrived. And it may be that the first year what's inside you doesn't shine at first, that it's visible to everybody, but it will shine. It will. And I have heard this from top finance executives in Credit Suisse or whatever. They said, I won't say exactly what they said, but they clearly indicated that they valued liberal arts education because they've seen how people perform over time. And so that's not a good answer. That's not the best answer, but it's the first answer is that you are getting a superb education. You wouldn't have had this opportunity to work with faculty at a big university. And let me just say, I really respect the work of my colleagues at big universities. They work very hard. They're very committed to their students. The scale just prevents them from having this type of, personal mentoring where they are able to empower you to do research and ask critical questions and make art in the same way. It's not their fault, it's the scale that's challenging. And they're finding creative ways to deal with it, but there's no match to what you can have here in a 1-to-9 faculty-student ratio. With your classes, your connections classes are kept at 16. So where you're going to have extraordinary attention that's been invested in you, that will pay off. You have capital. You have capital.
Hi, my name's Tyler. I'm a senior. And when you ask that question, why F&M, I go back to my admissions interview, and I think about when I was asked that question, essentially. And, I actually took that opportunity to address why my high school grades from courses in math and Spanish, as opposed to other courses like, social studies and English, were lower on the Spanish and math side. And my answer to that question was, when I become the most engaged academically, isn't when you take a test and when you get the test back, there's an X through the answer. And, it's because you got the answer wrong. When I become the most engaged academically is when the answer to a test question is as far from exact as, possible. And that's where I think that's where I get really into it, those big, vague questions. Now, the second part of that answer was also the size of the school. It's a very small college, and one of my biggest fears going into college was just being, one of, tens of thousands. So I didn't want to just be a number. I wanted to be a person. I wanted to be a member of the class, not just a number in the class. And I think the school does a great job of both of those things. Now, that said, I think that the size of the school can also work for the school and also work against the school in some ways. And in my experience, at F&M, I've done all sorts of different things. I rowed 2 years at the varsity level. Then I did intramural rugby, and now I'm actually doing independent martial arts. And I'm also in a fraternity, and I've written some articles for the Reporter. And, I've done all these different things. And the one thing that I would say is a problem for me is like when I go to do something different and I talk about another group that I've been a part of, then people, in that group who've never gone and, hung out or worked with people in a different organization already have an opinion or, some kind of idea of what the nature of that organization or club or team might be. Now, I think that's the most destructive thing that we can have going on at a small school. I think what we need to encourage is for students to not base an opinion on, you know, all the different amazing opportunities we have here without going there themselves and really experiencing it and, you know, making their own judgments, because isn't that what liberal arts is, forming your own opinions and, you know, learning how to navigate different environments. So my question is, how do we foster that?
Thank you, thank you. Well, I hope the houses will help with that. I'm impressed by the programming there that brings together students from all those different groups that you talked about under one house, as does the curriculum. And so I know that's still growing, still defining its role, but I'm very impressed with the programming. This year they had a common theme for all the incoming students. So again, that would break down any barriers that may exist based on affiliation. I think the house system, I'll just stop right there and say the house system seems to have great promise for breaking down some of those boundaries. And hopefully that you all will remain affiliated with your houses throughout your 4 years, and you will replenish those connections that transcend any particular affiliation.
Hi, my name's Susan. I'm a sophomore this year. I chose F&M partly because I fell in love with Lancaster as a community. It's a really great town, and I never really knew it existed. And also, well, I mean, I lived in Philly. I knew it was a real thing, but I didn't realize how cool it was. Now living here for a year, and the programming here is just incredible in terms of the opportunities where I can pursue both music and animal behavior, which are usually not available in the same sort of space in a college setting. And through my experience with music, I've actually experienced something a little more negative about the school, and the only term I can really think of to refer to it is student apathy, in terms of supporting other students, where as a musician, the music community here is just wonderful, and it's super warm and inviting, and everyone supports each other. But outside of that, if you come to one of our concerts, which would be impressive because of the turnout that we get, and this isn't just involving music, but when community members outnumber the students attending things, that tends to get me worried, as well as Common Hour isn't full. There are plenty of empty seats, and that means that both faculty and students are missing. And I'm wondering, is there something we can do to improve the ratio of students that want to go out and support other students, so that it isn't just you feel, if you're not a member of a Greek organization or of something that's very well known on campus, that you're sort of left off to the sidelines and people sort of forget about you. So I'm worried, what can we do to improve students supporting students so that it's a huge F&M community as opposed to sort of separated mini communities within it?
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Wonderful that Lancaster has provided such nurture for you. So how do we get students to be more supportive of other students? Similar to the previous question, so I can't use the house answer again. You know, I don't really have a great answer for that. I think that you've raised a great question. You know, I don't know that we're that different from any other campus in the regard of students focusing primarily on their passions. You would like to see more solidarity and support among the students, so I'll put that on my list. Okay.
I'd like to actually follow up on that question. Again, I'm Virginia Maximowitz, but I do need to answer why F&M first, because no one ever asked me that question. And the thing that popped into my mind was my interview with the Professional Standards Committee. I was a visitor here, and then I got what I call the real job. But I remember Bob Barnett, who's retired now, who was a professor of Latin, on the committee, and he was impressed that I had had 4 years of Latin in high school. And I was coming from an art school where I had been criticized by the dean for having my studio majors right. And I knew I was wrong for the art school, and I knew I was right for a place like F&M in that moment. So in a way, I have Bob to thank for that. But following up on this question, it occurred to me hearing some of the questions that are being posed to you by students. I'm not sure all students know what a provost does. all right? And I think maybe, you know, if you could explain that a little bit, and then maybe one of the responses is you're working with faculty to enable us to be more responsive as well. So what does the provost do, and how can you envision working with us as faculty so we can better work with students?
That's the toughest question I've had all day. So it's quite a job description. Well, it's easier to say what the provost doesn't do. The provost focuses primarily on the well-being of the faculty, their nurture, their recruitment, their retention, partnering with faculty elected committees and their evaluation, working with all the team here to provide, working with partners like Dave on facilities so that faculty and students are in excellent locations, can do their research, that all the materials are there to support them, partnering with people like Alan and Carmen and Ken in the provost office to make sure the curriculum is orderly and delivered, working with chairs, working with faculty. So the provost, in some ways, the word, I guess to not just go through the list of the job duties, but to try to use a metaphor, I see it as kind of a role of reconciliation. And I don't mean that in the soft, sweet, kumbaya way, although I'm in favor of that as well. There's a lot of conflict with human beings, and so the provost does get involved in trying to reconcile people who are carrying grievances against each other. And I mean that in a constructive way. That's part of living in a community. It's part of dealing with issues like you're talking about, of feeling like students aren't supporting each other. It can even happen among faculty sometimes. And so sometimes the provost can be involved in reconciling that. But in a bigger meaning of the word is to reconcile this great mission that we talked about, is to be a person who helps reconcile that great mission and the passion of the faculty and the aspirations of the student with external realities that are conditions and, the will and woe part, the wins, the headwinds and all that, and trying to make it, to reconcile those external conditions with the internal aspirations. So you're in the middle of that. Functionally, structurally, you look like you're in between the administration and the faculty. I'm the dean of the faculty and I'm provost. And so you're translating constantly back and forth between these internal aspirations, these passions, these funny people, the faculty that I talked about. And the administration is like, oh my God, we've got to find the money to do this, and we've got to do that, and we've got all the federal compliance regulations, and we need to win support for external donors. And so you're trying to translate back to the faculty some of that, along with all the other partners in the administration and all the faculty, you're trying to translate back. So it's a very interesting role, very dynamic, very testing role that, I look to Ann, I look to Joe for advice, I look to the faculty for advice. I'm working closely with faculty, work to Dan. But it's a role in the middle, trying to translate from faculty to administration, external world, from external back. And so that's one reason why I'm not, right on top of the student focus, because we have an extraordinary set of colleagues who are actually more focused directly on student issues. Dean of the College, Margaret Hazlitt, Associate Dean Donnell Butler, many other folks, new colleague, many people here working on that. So that's and there's also another part of reconciliation that is also just the reconciler of the budgets. So that's another meaning of reconciliation. Reality and aspiration have to be reconciled. And so the provost has to play a role in helping the community make the best choices about how to spend those scarce, all too scarce resources for these all too wonderful visions. There's pluralistic, wonderful visions. You can't do all of them at once. So the provost is in the middle, also reconciling that reality and those aspirations. That's my little description of a provost. It's a little more metaphoric, and maybe that helps. Thank you. I think we've got time for one more question, perhaps. Thank you. And it should come from a student.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a senior here. I fell in love with F&M because of the tremendous student opportunities there are inside and outside of the classroom, especially for leadership. My question is, what new initiatives or new ideas are you looking to bring to F&M from your time elsewhere?
Well, I've got a lot of experience doing some innovative things that help people make the whole greater than the sum of the parts. So, for example, I'm not saying this isn't on my agenda list, but it's something that we could look at would be, how do we maximize the impact of hiring? Do we cluster hire? I've done that before. How do we make sure we're bringing in the most diverse faculty who are sensitive to the needs of all the different students from different backgrounds? How do we make sure we find the best, most competitive faculty, again, to address the needs of the students most ideally? Back to the reconciliation part, I'm aspiring to create more transparency in this process of translation that I was talking about. Without judging what's gone before. I'm not saying it wasn't transparent before. I want to make that clear, but in the past, that's what I've always practiced, is to try to get as many people involved in decision making so that we can make the best possible decision. Similar to what we've done here today, where I presented my idea about why F&M in a provisional way, in a very plastic way, and I said that I would benefit from your voices and your answers, and I have done so. Thank you very much.